Okay, this is just a quick overview of the Beyond 2022 NLP Pipeline Explorer, which we use for basically playing with different configurations of NLP tools just to see how they perform on the collections we're working with. So just a very quick overview of the dashboard here. We have a little drop-down menu where we can choose libraries that we want to work with. Depending on which library we're using, the widgets down here update because some libraries provide more functionality than others. For this demo, I'm just going to stick with Spacey, and I'm going to leave Spacey mostly at its default settings, which is look for every kind of entity that Spacey is aware of. Use the default English language model. We're also going to enable entity linking. So what this means is not only is Spacey going to go through the text that we give it and try to find which words are people or places or money, or it's also going to refer to the Beyond 2022 knowledge graph. And it's going to try and find URIs that will uniquely identify the referent for the mentions that it identifies in text. Now, the model that I'm going to use for this is our person model. So it's only going to try and link people in the knowledge graph at the moment. We have a few options for sources of data. So we could, for example, just do a raw text input. Let's say, for example, I was on the 1641 deposition site, and this paragraph was particularly interesting to me for some reason, and I wanted to see how the pipeline would perform with it. I could copy and paste this text in here. We could submit, and the pipeline would run over this text. Similarly, if there is a document in the Beyond 2022 database and I know that a transcription exists for it, I can give my user credentials and the ID of the transcription that I want to process, and the pipeline will pull that in for me, and I'll get the result on the other side. Or I could pull a document in directly from Transcribus, which is the service that we're using for performing optical character recognition on documents. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to upload a TEI XML file from my own computer. The file I'm going to use is this one here, Writs and Receipts for the 8th regnal year of Henry V. This was transcribed by Mike Jones of Bristol University. Now, in the version that Mike gave us, he had actually manually annotated entities in here. I've removed his manual annotations, so all I have is the text of this writ. And what the NLP pipeline is going to do is it's going to, first of all, we're going to see, can we find things like John White here or Henry V? And when we find these things, we're going to see if we can identify the URI for these entities in the knowledge graph. So I'll upload the file, and I'm happy with all my settings, so I press submit. Spacey processes the document, and we get this back. Now, words in blue are entities that were recognized by the Spacey pipeline and were connected to the Beyond 2022 knowledge graph. Words in bold are entities that were recognized by were recognized by Spacey. I've actually ruined my surprise there. Are entities that were recognized by Spacey, but were not linked to the Beyond 2022 knowledge graph. So I sort of gave the game away there by knocking the mouse, but I'll show you anyway. So if we take Henry V here as an example, if I hover over Henry V, I can see that the pipeline believes that it's this Henry V here. This is a URI that we've generated to identify Henry in Beyond 2022. But if I click on this link here, this link comes down from the Beyond 2022 knowledge graph, because the knowledge graph can point out to third-party sources of information. So thanks to the NLP pipeline, this previously unannotated text can now be connected directly to the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography. And if you are an ignorant person like me who doesn't know anything about Henry V, well, you can, well, I can't because I don't have access to this article, but if I had access to this article, I could browse to this page and I could learn about Henry V and then revisit this document with fresh eyes. I should mention this image is hard-coded in for this URI. That's actually not coming from the knowledge graph. It's purely for demonstration purposes. But if we were to store information like this in the knowledge graph, we could equally pull it in. Actually, a great example of the power of this is James Butler down here. So if we hover over James Butler, we actually have more references for him. We have a reference to his Dictionary of Irish Biography page. We have a reference to his Oxford Dictionary of National Biography page. And we also have a reference to a document that is curated by Beyond 2022. This Philomena Connolly edition of the Irish Exchequer Payments 1270 to 1446, page 3. As far as I know, this is available on the Beyond 2022 website. So we can follow these to get to, and it's I think it's really interesting to note here, with Henry V, that we can identify that monarch as Henry V. That he has this distinguishing bit at the end. One of the challenges with entity linking is figuring out that when we see James Butler in this context, we are specifically talking about the 3rd Earl of Ormond. And this is really where the power of this kind of natural language processing, this entity linking, comes in. If I, as a person with an interest in history, approach these documents, and these documents have been treated as I have demonstrated, then I can be very specific and say, please find me documents that contain a reference to James Butler, the 3rd Earl of Ormond. I don't care about the 1st, 2nd, or 4th. Now the computer is aware of specifically who that James Butler is because of the use of these URIs from the knowledge graph. So the computer can be much more helpful and much more accurate in identifying things that are of interest to me. And it can hopefully help me get to the things that interest me much quicker. Obviously, with any automated process, the machine will make mistakes, and we can kind of see here, for example, that it didn't succeed in linking this Henry V, and it didn't succeed in linking this Henry here, and that's actually because the NLP pipeline saw these as all one entity. It thinks it's Henry v. Henry for whatever reason. So these are some of the challenges that we have to tackle. We have to improve the accuracy of the entity linking system, and we have to improve the accuracy of the entity recognition system. And this is why internally all of the documents that we process are actually represented in this format NIF, because this format is used by standard benchmarking software to evaluate entity recognition and entity linking software. So while we're working with documents, we are going to be evaluating how well our pipeline configurations perform, and we hope to arrive at a solution that yields should we say, more than acceptable results. So that has been my demo of the NLP pipeline as it stands right now. We have a lot of development still to go on this, but I think it's immediately apparent just how useful this software potentially is.